Seek and thee shall find. Seek and thee shall find. Tom first saw him when he was 8 years old and going by Tommy. It was raining, and Tommy was stuck inside the house while his dad was at work and his mom was shopping. Why wasn't he at school? He couldn't remember, but there he was, at home, kneeling backwards on the couch and staring out the big bay windows that faced the street, watching the rain. He wasn't allowed to watch TV, and his mom said she'd know, so he didn't have any options left. There was nobody on the street save the occasional car. Not that there were many pedestrians on his suburban side street on the average day, but the rain had driven every last one of them away. Except for him. He walked slowly, almost aimlessly, on the other side of the street from Tommy's house. He stopped frequently and randomly. His feet and legs seemed to be the only part of him that moved, though it was hard to look at him closely enough to make sure. Sometimes it even looked like he had more than just the 2 legs. It gave Tommy a headache. He was taller than a normal person, though not the tallest person Tommy had ever seen. The thinnest, though. Tommy didn't know how a person could be so thin, like he was drawn on a piece of paper. His borders got fuzzier as Tommy's eyes got closer to his head. His parts multiplied and divided, added and subtracted, morphed and changed. Even when he was standing stock still, there was no stillness in his being. Seemed as though he was on the alert for something that never appeared. After his agonizingly slow walk, he passed out of Tommy's field of view, and Tommy realized he could breathe again. Over the years, as Tommy grew into Tom, he saw him again and again. Never up close, but never out of the corner of his eye either. At the fringes of large crowds, on the other side of parking lots, passing by on the street. No one else seemed to see him, and he never interacted with anyone that Tom saw. Tom had no idea if he knew that Tom could see him, or if he could see Tom. Tom never saw his eyes. No one else seemed to see him, and he never interacted with anyone that Tom saw. Tom had no idea if he knew that Tom could see him, or if he could see Tom. Tom never saw his eyes. Could he even see it all? Every time he left Tom's vision, Tom's heart unclenched, though he didn't even feel that it had clenched. He never once seemed to notice Tom, or anyone else for that matter. Just walked across the plane of Tom's vision from one side to the other in a way both meandering and furtive, pausing every now and then with no pattern Tom could identify. Though having seen him was always intensely unpleasant, still he obsessed Tom. Where did he come from? Where did he go? What was he? What was he? Those and many other questions floated around Tom's brains like motes in a sunbeam. But there was no way to get any information. He thought about asking friends if they'd ever seen a mysterious, all-black figure that they couldn't quite focus on, but imagined the blank stares and chuckles he'd get as answers. He spent some time searching on the internet, but each Google search left him empty-handed. There was only one thing to do. He'd have to move from passive observer to active hunter. Once that decision had been made, Tom was vigilant all the time, always scanning the distance in crowds for any sight of him. He sat by windows, just like that day when he was 8 years old, staring out at the street. He walked slowly and stilly down streets, haunting the exits of baseball games and concerts. Wraith-like, he drifted through life, alighting anywhere he thought he might see his quarry. He moved his head constantly, scanning every distance, searching for what he didn't understand. At night, Tom tossed and turned, begging for sleep. His mind would not release him, though, strategizing and planning and questioning without answer. The whites of his eyes turned gray with tiredness. His appetite faded and his body turned upwards and inwards, stretching out. His skin and hair lost their luster and dulled. When he looked in the mirror, he stopped recognizing himself. Soon he stopped trying. Tom's phone rang on and off through this time. Friends, relatives, co-workers, all wondering where he'd gone off to. Sometimes he would grab his phone, but he couldn't quite make his fingers swipe the green dot. Their borders seemed to dissolve some. He couldn't press buttons because he wasn't sure, really, where his fingertips were. Soon he stopped trying. With each passing moment, the drive to find him and question him grew within Tom. It consumed him entirely, burning away everything that he was. He never saw him again. He never stopped trying.